What's your renewed or continued message to the community?
It really is that continued message of please keep boiling your water. We are working away on getting to the point where we can give confidence to the community again. As of 6:18 p.m. last Thursday, the 7th of July, the water we were supplying into our reservoir network was deemed acceptable quality, was deemed safe to drink. But unfortunately, we had 10 hours approximately that we were supplying water into our reservoir network that was below the standard, only just below, but below the standard. We've been then working over the last week with New South Wales Health to get to the point where they are confident, as we are, that the water we'll be delivering out from our reservoirs is safe to drink. Now again, with that week going in there, the water's been diluted, but there's still a potential dilution of some of that contaminated water. So we would ask the community to continue to boil their water, to continue not to drink that water, use other water or boiled water to clean their teeth with, make sure if they're using anything to prepare food with or baby formula, all those things. Even making ice is the tricky one. You don't really think about ice, but make sure you get rid of all the ice that's in your fridge and then made new ice with water that had been first boiled. So all of those things, it's important that the community continues to do that. And as soon as you don't have to boil the water, we will be talking to media outlets such as yourselves and getting that to the community to make sure that they know at that point in time that it's then safe again. What will happen more than likely will be a staged approach. So there are certain reservoirs that are fed directly from the water treatment plant and other reservoirs that are fed from those main reservoirs. So there will be probably some staged process where certain zones will be available to use their water without boiling it, and then there will be a slight delay before the next zone will be able to be using that water safely. So when we do announce that, I just ask the community to keep an eye on that, look at the zone you're in, look at the area that you're in to make sure that you're in one of the zones that comes out first or the secondary zones.
And so what's sort of the update in terms of where we're at in getting this restored? I understand that Sydney Water is conducting some specific testing now. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, certainly we've engaged. So there's a couple of processes there. We've worked with New South Wales Health and they do a couple of things. The first thing is we needed to get the turbidity level below 0.5. We had it at about 0.52, around that level for that 10 hours or so. We were producing water just above the specification required. So that's solved now. We've got that down and we work with the government departments to get that and work with our staff to get that to it's now being treated at the level that it's safe. And then there's a process, this complicated process we go through in terms of a mathematical calculation, putting water into reservoirs where there's some potential contamination in there already, flushing those reservoirs out as much as possible. We can't empty those reservoirs completely because then people would have no water pressure whatsoever, so you couldn't even have a shower, couldn't even turn it on to get some water to boil your water, but we can take those down a bit, and we've been doing that and having some water come out through the stormwater system in Dubbo. So again, we've been informing the community about that and then continuing to fill it up with water that's a safe drinking standard. On top of that, we actually said what we're really concerned about here is that any of those reservoirs might have potentially some cryptosporidium in the actual tank itself. And so when we're testing, the 0.5 that I talk about is a nephelometric turbidity unit. And that's just a measure of how turbid the water is. It doesn't actually test whether you've got crypto or any other pathogens in the water. It's just a bit of a blunt instrument to test that it may have something in there. So there's no evidence to say that there's definitely any crypto in our water at the moment. But again, to give ourselves comfort and to give New South Wales Health comfort, we decided to talk to Sydney Water and actually just say to them, what about if we send you some water and get that tested? And in the end, they actually sent some of their staff out. They're taking samples from our reservoir system. They'll go back to Sydney, do the testing. It's got to be an authorised laboratory to do the testing for crypto to give us even more comfort that there is no evidence of crypto in our reservoir system. So with the calculations they're doing at a mathematical level with New South Wales Health, and in addition to that, the work that's being done in that direct testing, we'll be able to go to the community with confidence to say that our reservoir system is free of crypto and is now safe to drink.
And do you have any sort of estimate of how long you expect this to stay in place for?
We originally was hopeful that by today, a week after we started producing water, that we might be able to get to that first zone. We're not quite there yet, unfortunately. And again, I do apologise to the community for that. I was hopeful that 7 days would be enough with that clean water. We will get our test results back from Sydney Water on Saturday, and then we'll be able to have more discussions with New South Wales Health based on those results and the further dilutions. So again, fingers crossed, I'm pretty hopeful that we'll be able to have at the very least the first zones lifted by Monday. But again, please don't take that as gospel yet. It really is something we will communicate with the community to say when it's lifted, we'll let them know as soon as possible that it is lifted. So don't just assume that it will be on Monday, but that's where I'm aiming for.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say on that?
One of the things I think that is important out of this is that as much as it is unfortunate, and again, I have apologised to the community that we are producing water below standard, we actually do have a very robust system in place, and we do constant monitoring of the water that's produced by our water treatment plant. So when we noticed that the water, the system that's in place, as soon as the water was above that 0.5 turbidity level, 0.5 NTUs in that turbidity level, that's when our processes kicked into action, and we then went out and informed the community, talked to New South Wales Health, etc. So even though it is disappointing that we are producing water at the moment that you do have to boil, the fact that we've got those systems in place mean that the community can have confidence that what's being produced is of a good standard. And if something does happen where it's below spec, it's a very quick process that we work that out and we inform the community. So yes, it's bad that it's below standard. It's bad that you've got to boil the water. But again, it's that confidence level that you can have in council that we are out there in the main having systems in place that can counter this additional turbidity we're seeing in the river at the moment.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, as always.
Thank you, Isabel.